Welcome back to another discussion of Sarazanmai with your favorite hosts, us.
Yeah.
You know who we are.
Do we have a name for the podcast yet?
We do not.
Alright,
We didn't think about that at all.
Good job.
Just as much your fault as mine.
You hit go without having one, whereas
Were we actually going to come up with one?
we would have raised the idea of coming up with one at the least.
And it wouldn't have resulted in anything,
Maybe not.
so I decided to just forgo it.
Well, okay.
Anyways, episode 2, it was good, so let's talk about it.
How about that final scene, though? Enta.
Let's leave that for last.
Oh.
Can we do that?
We can.
It's the last thing in the episode, so let's leave it for
But
last.
it's the most important.
There's other things to talk about in the episode, and I think talking about the kiss will really be more useful when we see episode 3, when we see what it results in, when we see what spurred it to happen. I mean, we know what spurred it to happen so far as he's gay, but we don't know what spurred it to happen otherwise, and I think we should wait for that.
Alright. Fine.
Like, we can't go, there's not too much to talk about it. Whoa, that happened.
Oh, baby, it happened. Oh shit, dude. Did you see that happened?
It really did happen.
I hope you watched the episode and know that it happened.
Anyway, so I think there's other stuff to talk about in the episode. First of all, far more important,
Weed 420! Oh, baby, it's May 20th. It's weed day. My boy's growing weed. It's April 20th.
I saw someone on Twitter say that at the events, Ikuhara actually, said that the reason, he picked the voice actor is because he seemed like the one most likely to smoke pot.
Don't dox your fucking voice actor, Ikuhara. He's gonna get arrested.
No, but then the voice actor was like, no, don't do this to me.
God.
I love this man. Anyways, yes, the weed, it is present. So I think it's worth thinking then about how Toy panned out this episode.
No,
absolutely. We got a little development on him. And quite a bit of development on him, I think.
We sort of went perception-wise of him from delinquent, alright, he's breaking into a car just to make trouble, to be someone who's breaking the law here.
No, he's
he's
serious criminal.
No, exactly. I mean, one, he's a serious criminal, but two, he's probably breaking into that car not for delinquent pleasure, but to grab the loose change, because he and his brother, his general family of what we've seen of it, just needs money. Is in it rough, and that's why they're in crime, which obviously is very relevant to the discussion of capitalism.
Hell yeah, bitch.
Launched into in the prior episode. I'm very, very intrigued to see where things go. Crime as a fair means of making your living under capitalism, or however Ikuhara decides it's going to be taken.
No, for sure. I mean, I don't think crime's the right means, and I don't think Ikuhara's going to ultimately come down on the idea that crime's good, but selling weed's fine.
He's gonna complicate that divide between legal and illegal means of making money, and how legal means of making money can be morally abhorrent and selling weed can be fine.
Well, I hope he does that. I think that's a huge assumption to make.
Not that he will do that, but that he could do that.
No, it's definitely a potential that's opened by this. However, I think there's more than just that in what we saw from Toy. So first, he cares a lot about his brother.
Yeah.
This is clearly a parallel to Kazuki caring a lot about Haruka, except it's opposite. Obviously, one's their older brother, one's their younger brother. Yeah.
But in sort of both cases, they are trying to care for their brother insofar as Toy? Is it Toy?
Toy.
Oh, God, I got mixed up. Toy. His older brother is also man, we strapped for cash, and Toy's don't worry, I'm going to get us that money. So in different ways, obviously, but both of these brothers are trying to care for their siblings, even if one is the younger and one is the elder.
No, absolutely. It's worth, I think, though, looking at the difference between those, because Kazuki is very invested in Haruka, and does almost everything for Haruka.
Including also committing crimes.
Yeah, they do also commit crimes. But what I was saying is...
Enta also... Everyone's committing a crime this episode.
Yes, dear.
I'm sorry.
What I was saying is, the way Kazuki acts is very protective and very focused on, granting anything that Haruka could want. Haruka wants a cat, so Kazuki goes and steals a cat. Haruka wants to be friends with Sada or get pictures from her or whatever, so Kazuki dresses as Sada. And again, there obviously could be way more to their cross-dressing than just wanting to please Haruka, but thus far, that is at least the predominant reason. And yet, Toy's not the same. Toy obviously wants to help his brother, and is stealing to help his brother, and helps waterboard someone to help his brother, and sells weed to help his brother. But the dynamic is fundamentally different in his brother being older.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, because his brother, theoretically, is the one who should be providing for him.
Yeah.
Second, because there's not the same level of doting there. He clearly cares about him and loves him, but I don't think it's the same as the way Kazuki treats Haruka, which is just overly, very, very, very affectionate.
Mm-hmm.
Toy's not quite the same way, and is a little more estranged from his brother. A little, like, he wants to spend more time with him, but he's denied it actively in the episode, which I'm sure has some narrative reason, which we'll learn eventually, about what his brother's doing. But right now, we don't specifically have that. And what I think this is useful for is that, in many ways, Kazuki, I think, is going to have the hardest time connecting to the other two. Kazuki is so absurdly focused on Haruka that I don't think they can really, like, fully connect to the others. Whereas Toy is not quite as bonded to his brother. He's still very close, but he's not quite as close.
He's not sort of devoted with the same degree of single-mindedness.
He doesn't have the same degree of obsession. He still wants to use a wish to help his brother, of course. But it's not quite as obsessive. To connect it to Penguin Drum, you could say that Kazuki is a little more like Kamba, obsessive and like will do anything for Himari. Shioma, he cares a lot, but he's not quite as willing to commit. I mean, he's just as willing to commit crimes, but not as willing to be evil. To like forego his own morality. That's kind of the sense I get, and I think that's interesting, and I think it ties into something else that I like, which I'm just gonna fangirl about. The fucking date between Kazuki and Toy was so cute. I cannot tell you how adorable that was. I've retweeted some art of it, and there's other art I would like to retweet, but it has a bulge, so I can't. But it's an adorable date. It's also hilarious. Go read the Sakuga blog article on it if you have not done so yet. But I think it, as with everything, has a slightly deeper meaning than just being cute and funny. First of all, it's the first real bond we see in the show. Now, we know Kazuki and Enta had a closer bond when they were in soccer together, and Enta clearly still feeling that, still feeling shit about that bond, but they didn't really have the same kind of, like, we don't see that on screen. Whereas, we see Kazuki and Toy, like, running around, and they honestly seem to be having a decent time. Of course, they still want to get the cat, but they seem to be enjoying themselves to at least some degree, even if initially they're like, whoa, no, we don't want to do this, but we gotta do this. They eventually, like, begin to enjoy themselves. Which, first of all, that's when I begin to enjoy myself. What?
Go on.
That wasn't, like, sexual or anything.
No, I know.
Second, I think it's the start of, like, their ability to connect. But it's always going to be frustrated, both A, because they each have people who they want to grant wishes for. They are, after all, even while bonding in that chase, they are still chasing for the cat, which they need to help fulfill their
respective wishes.
Correct. So it's not truly a connection free of other desire.
No, and I mean, there's going to be the inherent conflict, which is both of them wanting to use the wish for their own brother. So once they sort of got pushed off because they don't have enough dishes to do anything, so there's really no reason to fight over it, but that fight is still brewing once they get closer.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's no way to avoid, really, the fact that their wishes are inherently going to conflict with one another in some way or another. However, I do think it also still does show, like, a greater start of the connection between the two. A start that's not purely motivated based on, like, kept be forcing them to do something.
Yeah.
But is instead, like, a little more genuine, a little closer. And ultimately, I think that it's almost like a performativity. By performing a couple there, they, like, become closer, even though that's not their intention. By acting as a couple, they become more like an actual couple.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's really the start of their chemistry. And this is why, my wife does not agree with me here, but this is why I don't feel quite as strong about Enta right now.
Hold on. You did not word it that diplomatically when I objected to it. You're like, Enta's kind of trash. I don't really care about
I did not
Enta.
say he's trash. I just said I didn't care about him.
Like, that's not... He's not quite on the same level of excellence as my two queens. Like, no. I was upset by the fact that she had very, very little fondness for Enta, seemingly.
Well, I think there's a couple of reasons for that. First of all, Enta, we haven't gotten much on him, and again, that's why I want to leave talking about Enta really to next episode. Yeah. I just need more on him. I need to understand him a little better. I just don't have a good grasp of his personality, honestly, and that in itself really hurts my ability to talk about him. Second, he doesn't have the same chemistry with either of them. He hasn't really interacted a ton with Kazuki thus far. Obviously, again, he had a past relationship with them, but thus far, he hasn't talked to Kazuki much, except like in like the Kepi scenes and stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas Kazuki and Toy have a much closer relationship. They've actually like conversed on a much greater level.
With the scenes in that like garage both times,
for sure.
With the box selfies, episode 1, and then the cat chase, episode 2 here.
And Toy and Enta have functionally no relationship.
Yeah.
They have no pre-built relationship. Kazuki is the one that's going to ultimately tie them together, obviously. So what that means is that Enta just feels a little limp compared to the others. And that's not a big problem, because I think episode 3 will ultimately give him his due, and
you're bitching.
Probably allow me to warm up to him a great deal. But I do think that right now, I don't particularly care about him. Kazuki, X, Toy, for life. Thank you very much.
Cool, so let me talk about Enta now. What's interesting about Enta thus far is that he seems to keep getting other people's boxes.
That's true.
That happened, what was it, his sisters in episode 1? And then Toy's gun. Fucking gun.
Yeah, it's just a gun. It's like a literal actual gun.
Which presumably will come up in the future as well. There is like a literal Chekhov's gun here, just waiting. It didn't get fired in this episode. It got brandished, but that's just sort of something hanging over us. And I don't know exactly what it means, the fact that Enta keeps getting other people's boxes. We saw, what was it, Toy give back Enta's box that I guess he mistakenly got in place of his gun at the end of the episode there. But it's a very interesting little tendency, little quirk.
Is it because Enta's a jealous bitch, so he ends up taking other people's stuff? We'll see. I don't want to talk about it in any depth right now. There's one more thing I think in the episode that we really gotta talk about. The cops. So, the cops, they're a lot. Those cops sure are a lot.
They didn't disappoint.
They're more than even normal cops are.
Normal cops aren't animated by Shingo Fuji.
Yeah, that's true. They still wouldn't be good if they were, but yeah,
they'd be a little better.
A tad. Anyway, I think we learn a significant amount more about the cops this episode. Still not a ton in depth. I'm sure that they'll get their actual episode at some point.
And we haven't learned enough about them thus far to really know how much relevance their portrayal in the manga that came out before the anime, which covers them, how much relevance that has, if at all, to the anime.
For sure. Lachlan and I both watched it between episodes.
I love watching manga.
Read it.
I love staring at a volume of manga, just sitting on my coffee table, just staring at it for hours.
It's a really fun experience. Well, for those who haven't read it, it's just they raise Sada when she's a baby, and then eventually she becomes a not baby really quickly.
In a very, like, Princess Kaguya, the bamboo cutter's wife.
Absolutely. No, she's gotta be Princess Kaguya, except instead of coming from a stalk of bamboo, she comes on a plate. And her name is Sada. So, we're gonna have to see how they relate to each other in the show.
Yeah.
We're gonna see if the manga is even, like, technically the same universe as the show. That's not a safe assumption to make for an Ikuhara work.
Not.
Yurikuma, totally different universe. Penguin Drum, unfortunately, just a boring retelling. Utena, totally different universe. So
this seems like it could go either way.
It could absolutely go either way. I could easily see it just being a prequel. However, if that's the case, then a lot has changed for these two cops.
Yeah.
They're a lot more serious.
Yeah. They're
and
not
bad.
like cute
They're
gay
evil.
dads. I mean, to be fair, we saw them, like, mostly this episode at work among other people in like an official capacity.
Okay, but like,
and even then they were goofy in the
they
manga.
were theoretically at work.
Right.
But like they just broke into a dance in the middle of work, and like I feel like that didn't actually happen.
No, I mean for sure. Like obviously,
because they admitted to killing someone who like the cops were like, "Hey, so this cat dude, he seems to have gone murdered," and then they're just like, "We did it."
Hey, bitch. Hey, I did that. You're welcome. Yeah, obviously, a sexy dance in the middle of work is not exactly professionalism, but if we're sort of separating those layers of Ikuhara abstraction,
for sure.
Like the goofy, cute, gay dads stuff could be a part of their characters that remains and just did not come out this episode as a result of the
No, it's definitely possible. I think we'll see that more when we see them interact rather than just like them making kappa zombies.
I really want to fucking know what's going on with their sequence, though, insofar as it includes, like, a gun firing.
For sure.
Like, there's shit there, dude.
But yeah, I think we're going to leave the cops there for now. If there's one other thing to talk about this episode, it's, once again, in the extraction sequence, or not the extraction sequence, in the, like, the leak sequence, we got Kazuki's,
no, for sure.
secrets. So what I'm wondering is, when are we going to start getting secrets from other characters?
Right.
Especially, how many characters are we going to get secrets from? Is it just going to be the main three?
Right.
Will we eventually get some from cops? I doubt that.
Yeah.
But, like, at the very least, we should get some from all of the main three, you'd presume.
Mm-hmm.
So, how long will it keep being Kazuki? I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
Kazuki's the main character.
Mm-hmm.
But, I'm just interested.
Yeah, I had assumed that it would go sort of episode by episode, or at least, like, whenever we got the Toy focus episode and the Enta focus episode, alright, we get their secret. Whereas it seems obviously we need to see where the rule of thirds falls on this, but that those expectations are not actually what's going to be fulfilled, and maybe we'll be more weighted towards secrets from Kazuki, who's got a lot of fucking baggage,
for sure.
All sorts of shit. We might be sticking on that psyche for a while.
For sure. Well, I think that's a decent place to stop for today.
I don't know, man. It says here in Audacity that we've got enough disk space remaining for 75 hours and 2 minutes more of recording.
Well, we can just talk about Ikuhara for the next 75 hours.
I got 2 days to burn.
Anyway, that's 3 days, dear.
Shit. Well, I do not have 3 days to burn, so on that note, we'll have to wrap things up here, unfortunately.
Alright. Bye-bye.
See ya.